Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken, and we're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. I am so excited today because a colleague, somebody that I have known for about 30 some odd years. Her name is Janelle Barlow, and she is the author and wrote this book in 1988, I believe. It was titled A Complaint is a Gift. Guess what? November 2022, she releases the third version of this, and we're going to be talking about that book, how to handle complaints, why managing complaints is so important. This is going to be an amazing episode on Amazing Business Radio. Before we get into the interview, a couple of quick announcements. If you have a story or a question, please reach out to me on all the social media channels. Please, I will answer them there, I promise. Either if it's a question, use the hashtag AskShep. I'll answer it in the social channel, on my blog, and my newsletter, on this show, or maybe my TV show, which is Be Amazing or Go Home, which can be found on Amazon, Apple TV, Roku, and you can get episodes at beamazing.tv. That's beamazing.tv. Well, it's time to get into our interview where we're going to talk to the woman who wrote the book, A Complaint is a Gift. Janelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shep. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you. And I know they're going, well, see you? How do you see you? This is an audio program, but I can see you when we record. We actually get to look at each other as we do this. I am so excited about your new book, which is actually an old book. A Complaint is a Gift, which, by the way, just November 2022, your third release of this book with all updated information. So it's as recent as you would want it to get. I would suggest that you do not pass go, do not collect $200, turn off the recording right now and just go straight over to Amazon and buy this book. How's that for a plug?
I like that.
All right. So again, A Complaint is a Gift, how to learn from critical feedback and recover customer loyalty. And I read this book in the 1980s. I started my business way back then, and your book was one of the go-to books for me to learn and share insights and interpret insights that I eventually put into my speeches and writings. And we all have different ideas. The other thing I'm excited about is this national customer rage study, where people are angry, and there's an actual study that you reference and that you're a part of that gives us an idea of just how much this costs business.
Yes. And Shep, and I'll tell you about some of those statistics because they are really astounding. But what I found is if you link them together, which you really can't do statistically, but you can in terms of your head and how you think about this, you put them all together and it's really profound what is happening. So for example, 2/3 people have a product or a service failure. Now, do they talk about
2/3 of people now? They have a product or service failure across their life, not one specific thing always fails 2/3 of the time.
Well, in the experience of getting service, 2/3 of the people have an experience once when they did this survey over the year. And I don't know, I actually don't know that they said in the last 6 months, in the last week, I don't know, but it's a huge number of people who have a problem and they don't talk about it.
They internalize it. They don't tell the company. They don't tell the
company. That's right. Yeah. That's right. I just got a new car, a new Subaru Forester. I love it. But there's a clunk that it makes when I hit a bump. And the problem is that they've got the tool sitting on top of the tire. And when you hit the bump, the whole thing lifts up and bounces down. Now, we've been researching this. Huge numbers of people have this same problem. Now,
oh my gosh.
Why haven't they fixed this? Because it's a minor thing. It's a great car. It's an expensive car, and it's got this.
Blows my mind. I love Subaru. Subaru's a great brand, and they're a client. So I've got to be, and that's not just the reason I'm saying this. I would just shut up if I didn't want to talk about them. But it doesn't matter what the company is. We will do an exercise in our training workshops, and we'll say, what are the biggest complaints that you hear? Let's list them all out. And then let's talk about 2 or 3 of them. And one of the questions they ask is, how often does this happen? And once in a while we'll hear, well, it happens like every day. It happens all the time. We hear this, multiple. And I'm thinking to myself, it's there. Why haven't you fixed it yet? Why, so the idea is from behind the complaint, you don't just want to resolve the complaint. You want to figure out why it happened and operationalize around it.
That's for you. And with the customer, what you want to do is engage them in such a way so that they walk away feeling like you're connected to them because you're taking care of them.
Yep.
But here's the second statistic: 58% of the people felt that they had limited satisfaction with how it was handled. Neither nothing happened or it was limited in whatever happened. 58%.
So even though they got through to somebody or somehow connected with the company,
right,
and they just aren't happy, even though the complaint might have been resolved. They weren't happy with the way it was resolved.
The way it was resolved. Exactly. And I honestly believe, and if you look at the research, there's a lot of it, that handling the emotional side of that complaint experience is, I hate to say this, but it's probably more important than handling what actually happened. Because you can handle what happens. Here's a refund, here's a this, I'll fix this, I'll give you a new this. But if you're treated poorly or you're treated emotionally, you're not going to be happy. So that emotional satisfaction is so important. You've got to start there, really start there.
I think table stakes is, we're going to solve your problem. However, if you don't do it with the emotional satisfaction, you're not going to create any effect beyond, okay, they fixed it, I'm moving on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It doesn't create that feeling of engagement, connection for longevity. Okay.
So to summarize, basically what you're saying is, it's not just you fix the problem, it's how you fix the problem.
Totally. Okay, here's another one. Now remember, we got 2/3 had a product failure. 58% said nothing or very limited happened to satisfy them. 65% of the people who are complaining left filled with rage. And
because they didn't get it resolved, or the way it was,
how they were, who knows if how it was handled, or it wasn't resolved, or whatever. They just are left with rage. Now these numbers are beginning to stack up. Now, given that so few people complain, the numbers go down. But of the ones who have got to complain and say something, 65% left filled with rage.
Define rage for us.
I'm never going to come back to you again.
That's a pretty direct raging statement.
Swearing at people. I swore at a service provider last weekend. I apologize, but I've been dealing with them for an hour and getting nowhere. And I swore. I didn't call her name, but I called the company name.
Wow.
It's embarrassing to me.
So not like you.
But I lost it.
All right, I'm going to share with you a stat from our study that we did, sponsored by Amazon. This is an interesting stat. We asked, I find this somewhat entertaining. Let's make sure I get you the right one. We specifically asked, have you cussed at a customer service rep? And let's make sure I get it. Oh, I can't believe I can't find it now. I'm embarrassed. Here I am, all excited.
I'm going to swear about that.
But it wasn't. I jokingly say it was a number that surprised me. Yelling was one, and then actually swearing at one was another.
That's another statistic that I quoted in my very first book, and then I think I repeated it in the second edition. And the number is high. I think it's like in the 30, close to 40%, somewhere in that range.
40% have yelled at a customer service agent. 33% have cussed at a customer service agent. And I add this stat too: 72% are lying about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But when you think about all the swearing that goes on by politicians today, it's not surprising that people are swearing more. I would think those numbers are going up. We're just getting used to using 4-letter words in our normal vocabulary.
If you use it as an adjective, is not as bad as if you. By the way, it should never be used anyway in the situations. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's okay to do, but some people say, I'm so freaking mad. But they're not saying, they're not targeting the person they're talking to. They're expressing an emotion and describing their rage as a result. There's nothing right with using cuss words at that level. you know.
Right, right. I know, because that little person who's helping you, probably from the Philippines, is a wonderful, lovely person, and they're doing everything they can not to take. I mean, they're working hard at not taking what you've done to them. Okay, so we got to the 47% post reviews. Did I say that one? I think I
Not
did.
yet. 47%. Well,
Yeah, that's almost half of them post reviews of one kind or another.
okay.
Here's a good question to ask.
Half of them angry customers posting
From an
reviews.
angry
You're not talking about
customer, yes.
in general people
No,
posting
that's
positive
right.
reviews.
That's right. And do you think those people ever exaggerate?
Some of them are probably exaggerating a little bit.
I
I think
think a
that
lot of them are exaggerating.
Yep.
Yep, I really do.
With reviews, it's really interesting how many people. By the way, I don't know if you can hear. There's apparently a huge fire around here. Sirens are going crazy outside.
No, I can't hear it.
That's good. Microphone's doing its job. The idea behind posting reviews is really interesting. Negative reviews out of anger is basically a customer seeking revenge. And I don't even think they do it in a review site. I just think they go on social media and tell the world that they're unhappy.
Right, right. Yeah, they do. And honestly, I think they think it makes a difference. I had a friend who was telling me about how she was dealing with a telecommunications company, which I think all of us would like to swear at from time to time. And she was saying, well, you know what I'm going to do? She said, I'm going to tell them I'm going to quit. And I said, hey, they don't care.
They really, I'd like to think they do care. But
well, they've got so many customers, really. They lose one of them, they don't care. They just
but if that one shares with the world, do you remember? And I've talked about this before. Remember, it's Carol. Mike, is it Mike Carroll? No, not Mike. It's he's the guy that was the musician who United breaks guitars.
Oh yes.
Right,
but
right.
Boy, that's
Dave Carroll.
That's so unusual, and he was so talented that.
And they broke his guitar. And the short version of this is he asked United to pay for it. They denied it, and so he wrote a song about it. And after several 100,000 views on YouTube, they said, "Hey, we'll fix it. Just take it down."
Yeah.
No. And I think it's like 15, 16, 17 million views later.
Yeah. Right.
That song.
Well, and then there's the guy who was dragged off the airplane, Dr. Dow. That's another one that millions of viewers on it. But you know what? United ended up behaving well in that situation, how they handled it. Even with the guy whose guitar is broken, they did something about it. Now, it took them a while. And that's really the key. I think these big companies eventually do something about these situations.
I'd like to think they do, no doubt. Yeah. Hey, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to jump into your book, and I want you to share with us the 4 or 5 nuggets. I know there's many in there, but 4 or 5 that we can all start to use immediately and handling complaints, making our customers happy, making them love us, and making them say, "I'll be back." We're coming right back. We are talking with Janelle Barlow, who is the author of A Complaint is a Gift, How to Learn from Critical Feedback and Recover Customer Loyalty. The newest edition has just been released. It is available on Amazon. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, Shep Hyken, your customer service and experience expert, and I'm excited to tell you about my new book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Now, this book is packed with idea after idea on how to, just as the title implies, get your customers to come back. In the book, you'll learn that repeat customers aren't always loyal customers. Now, both are great, but there's a big difference. You'll also learn about 10 reasons a customer may stop doing business with you and 3 reasons you would stop doing business with them. And one of my favorite lessons is a 6-step process for creating an I'll be back strategy. Of course, there's much more. You'll start getting more of your customers to say, "I'll be back" almost immediately. Just go to www.illbebackbook.com. Again, that's www.illbebackbook.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Janelle Barlow, the author of A Complaint is a Gift. You have, in the first half of our interview, basically shared the stats and facts that compel us to want to figure out how we can make sure the customers do want to come back. And so let's go through some of the techniques in your book that will help us better deal with complaints.
Well, the one thing I think is that, and this has to be done at a very senior level in companies, they need to understand that to get into an appropriate mindset around handling complaints, because it is a mindset, just as delivering transactional customer service is a mindset, handling complaints is a mindset. And that's why the whole metaphor of a complaint is a gift is a good way to start your mindset. This is my mindset. I'm going to be given a gift. And that just changes things automatically. But at a very top level, companies, managers need to, or CEOs, C-suite, need to understand that people do not naturally know how to handle complaints. They do not. And a lot of them think that that's the case. I mean, they hire these people, they teach them a few scripted responses, and they think that they've got the answer. But if you look at a lot of the people who are handling complaints, they are young, and where they learned complaint handling was in their families, and in their families from their siblings. And when they had arguments with their siblings, they fought with each other. You know, you did this, I'm going to tell mom, I'm going to, whatever it is. And then they get into a complaint handling situation and they have go-to responses. That's how I refer to them, as go-to responses. Somebody's telling me something nasty about me or my company or whatever. My go-to response is to fight back, or it's to do any number of different things. Maybe not fight back, but any number of different things.
Defense mechanisms pop up and
Exactly. And they've been with that person for about 20 years. So they've got to be taught to recognize those and then what they can shift into. And it's a great way to refer to it. What's your go-to response? You know, somebody gets behind you in their car and they honk your horn. What's your go-to response? For a lot of people, it's to give them the finger. And that's not the one that we normally wave with. And that's not going to work either. That's how we get road rage.
Right.
So that's an important kind of thing. Now you may be looking at more concrete kinds of little tidbits to do.
Yes.
If you have the mindset of a complaint as a gift, I think that an appropriate beginning to a complaint is some kind of a statement of gratitude. Well, thanks for telling me. I really appreciate it.
That's acknowledgement and perhaps an apology, even if it's not your fault.
Yeah, the apologies I think should come a little bit later because you don't know enough yet what you're apologizing about when they first start off. I mean, you know, I say I have a complaint and they say to me, I'm sorry. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry too. What do you mean?
Well, you don't just say, I'm sorry. You know, hey, I'm sorry this happened. Can you tell me more so I can hopefully resolve it? Yeah.
If they are so wise as to say it like that, Shep, but a lot of them just do it this way. Sorry.
That's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work. So you really have to understand what it is in communication with communication chains. Now you're trying to elicit out of the customer a position of helpfulness because they're probably angry when they're talking with you about something that went wrong, that they're afraid is not going to get fixed. So what you have to do is to create this chain. And one of the communication chains that is actually the most common popular chain in the whole world, which is thank you, and then you're welcome. I mean, that's what we say when somebody says thank you. We say you're welcome. Now, the moment you've got that exchange going, a lot of the hostility goes away. And then you can start from there.
You're trying to mitigate or eliminate the anger.
Yes.
And that's the right words. You want this person to feel like you're on their team and you're there to help them out.
Right.
And is it, you know, what is your thought on saying, hey, I know you're angry. I would be angry too if that happened to me.
Right.
I'm here to help you. Can we set the anger aside for a moment? Is it okay to say that, or is that going to
Sure, absolutely. I do think you have even more powerful if you use those powerful words. You know, you want to stop just a moment, take in a breath of air because you can hear their anger. You want to respond emotionally to their anger. So, my gosh, thank you so much for telling me about it. We would never know if you hadn't said anything. And I know this. I would be angry too in this situation.
That's gold.
You know, Shep, there's a lot of emotional intelligence in this business of complaint handling. And that's why I think it has to be approached a little bit differently than service. With service, if I'm in a transactional service situation, I want to just try to help that person feel good about the business decision that they're making to buy this. So that's fine. But with complaint handling, somebody comes in to buy something, they're excited, but somebody comes in to complain, they're not excited about that. Who's excited? I get to go in and complain. Whoopee. No, it doesn't quite work that way.
Whoever said I get to, what's the quote is, I'm excited to make a complaint. Said no one.
Right. I mean, it's not a good situation. That's why Costco, I don't know if you shop at Costco, but they are so good with complaint handling because they'll take anything. You don't even have to bring in a receipt. It's just, I think it's 30 days on some things, but just come in, give us your product back, and we'll reduce it from.
Companies that have done that have really, they've got a great reputation. Nordstrom had that reputation. What happens when you're big enough, you can make deals with your suppliers that their products have to do what they're supposed to do. If not, they have to be willing to take them back. And that's why companies like Costco and Nordstrom and other retailers have said, hey, if we're not going to fight with the customer, we're going to just take care of them. And as a result, the trust is there. Years ago, Brookstone used to have a lifetime guarantee on what they sold. If you have a lifetime guarantee, I'll buy it, and price becomes less important because I know if it breaks or whatever, I'll bring it back. I bought a hammock from Brookstone, and it was from a fairly well-known brand, but Brookstone sold it. And lifetime guarantee, I kept the hammock outside. There was wood, and of course, hammock has a little rope that you lay in. Right. And if you leave it outside for 3 or 4 or 5 years, guess what's going to happen? The wood's going to rot, and eventually the rope's going to break. And I just brought this clunk of mess into Brookstone, and they went back and brought me out a brand new one.
Right.
3 times, by the way, over like a 20-year period. So
that sounds
they
like
honored the lifetime, and you know what? I kept going back and buying more and more from them.
More and more. Yeah, that's how REI, the sports.
I love that company.
Yes. And, I've noticed this because I've just started going in there recently to buy a bunch of camping equipment because my husband and I have gotten into astronomy and we're going to go out and look at the sky. I live in New Mexico. We're going to go out and look at the sky here. It's the greatest sky in the world for looking at and I go in there and, the clerks are happier because they don't have to fight the customers.
Yeah.
It just puts them in a whole
position. This is a real important point that you're making. Get into a situation where, the mindset that complaint is a gift. I get it. Techniques like saying thank you for letting me know is a disarming technique. But then if you let that customer know, you've got nothing to worry about. You don't have to argue with the customer. They're going to be upset with you. We're going to teach you techniques on how to deal with a complaint that's an angry complaint because you're going to feel defensive, but there's no reason to because as a company, I've got your back. You're my people. I've got your back. All you need to do is get that customer, the reasonable solution to what they need and make sure they go away happy.
Yeah.
That's
well,
the goal.
What I've started to do, Shep, is when I buy a new product, such as when we just bought this Subaru Forester, it's a big car, it's a wonderful car. It's a wonderful car. I am giving my book, A Complaint is a Gift, to whoever it is that I deal with. And I figure what I'm doing is buying some insurance about how they're going to handle me. Not that I think the Subaru wouldn't handle me well, but I'm really setting the stage for this is the best way for you to interact with me. And I've done it now a number of times. They don't quite know what to do about it.
Let me tell you what, when you, and I know the feeling because I've written books and I'll hand books to people. When you do that and you give them their book as a gift, they go, oh my gosh, I need to be on my best behavior. So I love it. When I'm at a restaurant with some friends and the server's there and we're joking, by the way, he's a customer service expert. And she looks at me or he looks at me and says, oh, really? I go, that means that you're going to be on your best behavior. And I'd like 2 comment cards, by the way.
That's funny.
All right.
Listen,
share with us,
told people to go to Amazon and buy a copy of the book. They should buy a few more so they can give them away.
Right. There you go. Great. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Give us another tip from the book.
Okay. Can I switch over to online complaining and give you a tip from there? And I'm citing some research that was done by 3 Harvard professors in which they use big data, 20 million comments that they analyzed that were online on the 4 big hospitality, the hotels.com, Expedia, and the other ones. 4 of them, 20 million of them, they analyzed them and they came up with some principles that most people don't seem to really know about all that well. First of all, they say this, because I think everybody probably listened to you, probably get some kind of feedback online.
Mhm.
Because so many people are doing it. First thing to do is that when you get positive response, use a real quick generic response and move on. Because you do want to respond to a positive
So
response.
basically, you're
but
saying you
just
want to
don't want
respond to both positive and negative.
Yes,
Positive deserves a quick little, hey, thanks for letting us know. We
that's
appreciate
right.
that. We
That's right.
appreciate your business.
Because
Thank you.
here's
Yeah.
what happens on all these big platforms is that the positive comment drops down because you just responded to it. Anything that you respond to drops down. But with the positive ones, you don't want to respond to them immediately. Let them sit at the top because they won't drop down then. It's the negative ones that you want to be as fast as you can possibly be, because the moment that you respond to them, they start dropping down the scale, and then they go on to the second page and the third page. And most consumers aren't reading the second and the third page. They're just reading the top lines. So if you get all your positive ones, keep them up
And
for
you're
there.
referring to online reviews.
Online reviews. Does that make sense? So leave
Yep,
the
makes sense.
positive ones up there so that they move down slowly. The negative ones you want to respond to quickly. And those you need to spend a little time on. They should be specific. So if a customer complained about the quality of your beds, you want to say, yes, I went in, I checked, I laid down on that bed, and you were absolutely right. It is way too soft. And we have replaced it with a new mattress. Thank you so much for this. Now, what you're doing is you're not only taking care of a problem, but you are also sending a message. We take care of problems in this hospitality venture. That's what's going on. And that's what's important. Now, if you can get your stars up and the way, all of these sites, YouTube, all of them, they all have their own algorithms of how they deal with these complaints. But if you can get your stars from, let's say it's a 4-star rate, let's make it 5-star, because that's most of them are 5-star. If you can get your ratings from 4.1 up to 4.2.1, they'll jump it up a level on the stars. They never give you, like, if you look at them, the stars are never 4.7356. They're not like that. They're in big chunks. And if you can get them up past the next level, let's say from 4.9 to 5.1, you get a 5-point rating. If you're down below, they drop you down to 4.5.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and you want to do that.
So you want
Interesting
to keep up there.
information.
And then here's the interesting thing. This group did some research with this, and they found that the people with a 0.5-star rating higher than the next one above, the one below them, they get more bookings.
Wow. That's it. Sort of
Yes.
like Expedias and Travelocities and that's
that is a wow.
Those star ratings make a big
Matter.
difference.
They
We did some
matter.
research on how many people leave written reviews versus the 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 type
Right.
reviews, and very
That's
interesting.
right.
We are basically out of time, and we
Yep.
always end the show with a quick last minute, like, what's your last thought in less than 60 seconds? If you could
Right.
share one more great nugget of information from the book, what would you share with us today?
Well, I would say this. I mean, and I would answer this question differently how I feel it at any given moment. But right now, I would say this. You got to practice this in your whole life. You can't just turn it on to customers because you won't do it. You'll go to your go-to response and say something else. But if you could get into the habit of every time somebody complains to you, your family is a good place to start. Because we complain to each other in our families quite
Sure.
a bit. And if you say to them, if you stop and then you say, thank you, I really appreciate it. I mean, we do this in my family all the time. It's almost a joke, but we know what we're doing. We're letting go of whatever hostility was there. We're moving into that space of, I want to be with you, I love you, and I want to be with you. And that's what treating any kind of feedback as a gift does, is it makes us closer to the people around us who matter the most.
I love how you come back full circle to that point of the acknowledgement and the politeness. I mean, that just simply saying, hey, thank you for letting me know. I would be upset with any of this, what you said earlier. I'd be upset with that as well if that happened to me. And I appreciate you sharing it. Now, and the cool thing is, once you do that, you disarm them from some of the anger. And then you could say something like, let's start over again. Let's start at the beginning. Many people say, don't make them tell the story over and over again. But if you're using this technique, what you're doing is you're dropping the anger, and now they're telling you the story because they know you're going to help them, not because they're complaining about it and want you to know.
And Shep, what they really want to do is to be listened to.
Yeah.
We've got
Like
so much
venting.
going on, so much going on in our world that we really don't listen very well to each other. And that's what they want to know, that you're going to, and if they get to repeat their story, fine, you're going to listen to it. And they
Wow.
will feel so much more satisfied as one person to another.
Janelle, this has been great. I've known you since the 1980s. I remember when your book first came out. I've admired your work. Again, the book is A Complaint is a Gift, the newest version, just released November 22. And that means you can get it and learn the latest and greatest. Janelle, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Shep.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another amazing interview. And we will be back next week with someone else. Not sure who it's going to be yet, but I promise you it's going to be worth listening to. So come back. And until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.